Okay, let's try these examples. When we're asked to simplify algebraic expressions, what we want to do is combine similar terms or like terms. That's another term for that. Let's look at example number 1. We have two terms here, 2x and 4x. Check first if they are similar terms. Looking at their literal coefficients, we have x here and x here. So sigurado tayo that they are similar, therefore we can combine them. So how do we do that? What we can do is simply combine the numerical coefficients 2 and 4 and simply copy the common literal coefficient x. Let's try and do that. What is 2 plus 4? It's 6. And then copy the common literal coefficient x. So the final answer is simply 6x. Let's look at example number 2. Example number 2 has more terms. We actually now have 4. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Nako, kapag medyo mas marami ng terms natin, be careful. We should know really kung ano ang similar or like terms. Now, if I were you, what I would do first is try to look at the first term. In this case, it's 5a. Now, ang gagawin natin is look for a similar term ni 5a. In this case, we have a here. So this is a similar term for 5a. Now, take note also, sinama natin yung negative sign. Bakit? Recall that minus 3a is the same thing as plus the negative of 3a. So actually, this minus sign here is the same thing as negative 3a. That's why in-underline natin kasama yan. Okay, so ang gagawin muna natin is combine 5a and negative 3a. So numerical coefficients, we look at them. 5 minus 3, which is 2. Therefore, write 2 here. And then copy the common literal coefficient a. Next, we're done with a. Let's look at our second term. We have 8a squared. Now, let me double underline this to distinguish this sa kanina na a. So, ito a squared. Meron bang similar term kay 8a squared? Meron. Ito, a squared din. So, let me double underline this as well. So, alam ko na similar yung naka-double underline. Well, that's just my style. Lalong-lalo na kapag medyo maraming mga terms, mas madaling makita kung anong similar if I do this. It's up to you, of course, if you want to do that as well. Okay, so combining, we have 8a squared and 7a. Looking at their numerical coefficients, 8 plus 7 is equal to 15. So let me write 15. And then copy the common literal coefficient, which is a squared. Now this can already be the answer kasi we cannot combine them anymore because they are unlike or dissimilar terms. However, it's always best to arrange our terms in descending order of degree. Dito, ano na nga ang order nito? The exponent is 1, therefore the order is 1. Ito, the exponent is 2, the order is 2. The degree I mean is 2. Therefore, it's best to write 15a squared first and then followed by 2a. So this is the answer. That's how we simplify the second example. Now, let's look at the third example. In this case, we now have a grouping symbol. We have c squared minus 6c and 3c plus 1 na nakagroup. Now, if you recall our GEMDAS rule, our GEMDAS means G first, grouping first. However, can we combine this group, c squared and 6c? Hindi pwede because they are dissimilar terms. Ganon din ito, 3c plus 1 cannot be combined because they are dissimilar. Buti na lang, we can use our distributive property. Now, ano na nga ang sinasabi ng distributive property? Distribute 2. So, i-multiply mo sa c squared and then i-multiply mo sa negative c. Let's try and do that. So, we write here, we have 2 times c squared. Let's write that. We have 2c squared. And then, minus, di ba? We can distribute. We have the distributive property of multiplication over addition or pwede ring distributive property of multiplication over subtraction. So, pwede mong kopyahin lang yung negative sign or minus. So, we now have 2 times, we have 6c. Okay, we have distributed 2 already. In the next term here, we have positive 5 to be distributed to 3c and 1. Doing that, we have 5, let's set it up, times 3c, and then plus 5 times 1. Okay, distribution done. However, we should multiply what we can multiply. So 2c squared, let me write that because 2 times c squared is 2c squared. Next, negative 2 times 6c is negative 12c. And the next, 5 times 3c is 15c. And then we have 5 times 1 is 5. Now, finally, we can simplify by combining like terms. Now, just like what we did earlier in example number 2, ang gagawin ko is, titingnan ko kung merong mga like terms that we can combine kaagad. So, looking at this one, c squared. Meron bang similar term si c squared? Wala na. Therefore, we simply write 2c squared. Wala nang pwedeng i-combine sa kanya. Next, we have c. Do you see any other terms na may c? Yes, this one. Therefore, let me double underline this, just like what I did kanina earlier, so that I know these two terms are similar or like terms. So, combining na kaagad, negative 12 plus 15 is equal to 3. So, let me write here 3c. And then finally, we have the constant term 5. Wala naman ng ibang constant term, so we cannot combine it with any other term. This one is 5. Now, check mo muna before we finally say that this is the final answer. Notice that the degree is in decreasing order. This is c squared, and then c, and then wala ng c. Therefore, this is our final answer. Okay, number 4. In number 4, we have 4 terms. This one, this one, this one, this one. Again, let's be very careful and let's identify which are similar terms. Let's look at the first term. The literal coefficient is x squared y. Do we see any other term na may x squared y? Yes, this one. So we can immediately combine them. We have 3 plus 4, which is 7. Then copy the common literal coefficient x squared y. Next, we look at the second term. Meron bang similar term si xy squared? Let me double underline this. Yes, this one, negative xy squared. Therefore, we can combine their numerical coefficients. 8 minus 1. Take note, this has a numerical coefficient 1. So 8 minus 1 is equal to 7. And then simply copy the common literal coefficient xy squared. Now, check mo nga, are they dissimilar talaga that we cannot combine them? Yes. And what we can do next is, teka, tama ba ang arrangement ng ating degree? What's the degree of this first term? 2 plus 1 here is 3. 1 plus 2 here is 3. So, ano gagawin mo pag pareho ng degree? Check the letter that comes first in the English alphabet. Is it X or Y? It's X. So, ang titingnan mo lang is X. Arrange mo with respect to X. The degree of X here is 2. The degree of X here is 1. Therefore, tama ng arrangement mo. This is our answer. 7x squared plus 7xy squared. Last, we have 10x cubed minus 14x squared plus x minus 2. Check natin. Do we have similar or like terms here? We have x cubed, wala ng x cubed. We have x squared here, wala ng x squared. We have x here, wala ng x. We have a constant, wala ng constant. Therefore, we cannot simplify this further. This is already simplified. So that's how you simplify algebraic expressions. Just be careful, combine like terms by combining their numerical coefficients, and then copy the common literal coefficient.